247A in Novorossiysk Naval Base, Black Sea. Russia's $450 million Kilo-class submarine, the B-271 Kolpino, is sinking deeper into the mud right now. The stern has just dropped another 6 feet. The propeller shaft is twisted, seals are blown, and seawater is flooding the aft compartments faster than the pumps can fight back. Hours ago, Russia was laughing. The fortress was locked tight, with scuttled barges and boom nets fixed to the seabed. Sonar was screaming, and raptor boats were circling like mad dogs. They believed no drone would dare attempt another strike after the events of December. To understand why this night matters, one must look at what Russia built following its humiliation in December 2025. That was when Ukraine's first subsea baby drone slipped into this exact harbor. It detonated against the Kolpino's stern, blowing a 30-foot hole in the pier and flooding 2 compartments. The submarine was left listing 3 feet deeper in the water. Moscow learned the hard way in December and turned Novorossiysk into a death trap. Additional barges were scuttled across the entrance to form a steel wall. Internal boom nets now hit the seabed, leaving 0 gaps and showing 0 mercy. Raptor boats perform continuous figure-of-8 patrols with paranoid crews and machine guns. Hot grenades are dropped into the water every minute. But the real killer is the invisible scream of active sonar cranked to maximum. High-frequency pings blast every few seconds, drowning the water in noise. Above, 2 Pantsir S-1 systems sweep the sky, with radar dishes spinning like vultures. A Ka-27 helicopter sits fueled and loaded. Its sonobuoys are ready, taking only 90 seconds from alert to becoming airborne. In the middle sits the Kolpino, a $450 million black hole stranded since December. The waterline had already dropped 4 feet due to the flooded stern compartments. Russia left it stranded here because the only dry dock at Novorossiysk had been damaged by a previous Ukrainian attack. This presented a perfect opportunity for a plan to help Russia decommission 1 submarine. The mission is simple on paper. Get back into that harbor and finish what was started. But simple does not mean easy. To pull this off, Ukraine does not just rush in. They blind the sky first using a swarm. At 1 a.m. sharp, from 3 hidden launch sites 15 miles north, 3 Beaver FP-5 drones lift off into the freezing dark. They fly low and fast, hugging the treetops at 100 feet. The engines are barely a whisper. Each carries a directional airburst warhead the size of a backpack, loaded with 2,000 preformed tungsten cubes. As expected, the Pantsir S-1 on the hill wakes up within 6 seconds. The radar locks onto the lead beaver. The operator yells, "Multiple inbound, low altitude." A 9 M335 missile rips through the night at Mach 3. The lead beaver holds its course, flying straight over the parked Ka-27 helicopter on the tarmac. Russia was prepared to destroy it immediately, having calculated the drone's trajectory. At 200 feet above the helicopter, the lead beaver's airburst detonates with a sharp crack. This creates an extremely powerful kinetic energy impact, directly affecting the aircraft below. Tungsten cubes spray downward in a lethal cone at 35,000 feet per second. The rotors are shredded like paper and the tail rotor snaps. The Octopus M radar dome explodes in a shower of sparks. Fuel lines rupture and jet fuel ignites in a roaring fireball. The Sea Dragon anti-submarine helicopter is torn apart before it can even fly. The Pantsir crew erupts and cheers, believing they have stopped the threat. The missile impact lights up the night, and they think the swarm is broken. However, the other 2 beavers are already splitting up. One dives lower, while the other climbs to draw fire. A second missile launches, hitting the climber in a fireball. But the third beaver slips stealthily under the clutter from the explosions. It flies straight over the burning Ka-27 wreckage, and its airburst pops at 180 feet. More tungsten cubes rain down, shredding the remaining sensors and puncturing fuel tanks again. A secondary explosion rocks the tarmac. The Ka-27 is now a burning skeleton, grounded permanently. There are no aerial eyes left to spot low-level threats. Is this really the end? Impossible. Russia understands its opponent well. The Russian base commander slams the radio, declaring condition red. Alarms wail and the crew scrambles. The night has become quieter overhead, but deadlier below. Ukraine launches a diversionary package from a beach 7 miles north. 2 Bober FP-5 drones skim low across the water, followed by 1 Sea Baby surface drone running at 40 knots. It is bait. Expensive, noisy, and obvious bait. The Russians take it immediately. Raptor patrol boats peel away from their stations and race toward the entrance with machine guns blazing. Active sonar intensity spikes to maximum as operators try to track the incoming threats. Stun grenades detonate across the surface, sending geysers of water into the air. It is chaos, and it is loud. It is exactly what Ukraine wanted. 1 Pantsir S-1 locks onto the first Bober and fires. The missile streaks across the black sky, destroying the small drone in an orange fireball. It took only 12 seconds from detection to destruction. The Russian crew cheers as the second Bober tries to evade by diving lower. A Raptor boat catches it with cannon fire, and the drone disintegrates into burning fragments. The Sea Baby decoy makes it another 400 yards before a depth charge cracks its hull. It sinks to the bottom. In the short term, it looks as though Ukraine has lost. But this was merely the foundation for the real plan. The gunfire, the explosions, and the relentless screaming of the sonar create a symphony of noise. This noise blankets the underwater environment. While they are busy destroying decoys on the surface, something silent is already inside. Meet the Toloka TLK-150. No longer just a sub-baby, this is the key to the entire campaign. It is only 8 feet long, about the size of a large surfboard. Twin electric thrusters give it surprising agility. The payload is modest, 45 to 110 pounds of shaped charge explosives. It is not enough to crack a submarine's pressure hull, but more than enough to destroy everything outside it. Right now, it is drifting at neutral buoyancy, moving at the exact speed of the tidal current. There is no propeller noise, no engine vibration, and no electromagnetic emissions. To Russian sonar, it looks like a piece of driftwood, or perhaps a dead dolphin. Their own clutter filters dismiss it as marine debris. The Ukrainian operator tracks the Toloka's progress through a small antenna. It pops to the surface every few minutes for a fraction of a second. This is just long enough to receive a signal burst from a Starlink relay carried by a high-altitude drone. The operator's heart is pounding. Telemetry shows the Toloka is inside the harbor perimeter, threading through the chaos. They're screaming so loud, the operator whispers. They can't hear us whispering. And the Kolpino, the sonar officer sees a faint echo on his MGK-400 display. It appears briefly, then vanishes into the clutter. He reports it to the captain, who orders a standard response. They deploy MG-74 acoustic decoys and activate the Prairie Massacre bubble screen. The decoys broadcast fake engine noise, while thousands of tiny bubbles create an underwater smoke screen. Against a conventional torpedo, this would work 95% of the time. But the Toloka is not tracking acoustic signatures. It is tracking magnetic anomalies and the steady rhythm of the submarine's pumps. The decoys and bubbles are effectively invisible to it. The Toloka approaches the inner boom nets at 2:22 a.m. These nets are supposed to reach the seabed with no gaps. But Ukraine did its homework. 4 days ago, a small cutter drone slipped into the harbor and severed a section of the net. The cut was small, deliberate, and calculated to coincide with the tidal schedule. When the current pushes hard against the net, it creates a temporary gap. The Toloka waits for the current to peak, then glides through like a shadow. The Toloka enters the baffle zone directly behind the Kolpino's stern. This is the submarine's blind spot, where its own machinery masks any approach from the rear. This is a tactic Western submarines used during the Cold War. Ukraine is applying that same lesson with a drone that costs less than a used pickup truck. Inside the submarine, a junior engineer hears something strange. It is a faint thumping sound that does not match the rhythm of their own pumps. The watch officer dismisses it as stress on the damaged hull, but the captain is not taking chances. He orders an emergency ballast flood, adding 132 tons of seawater to the tanks. He is trying to sink the submarine deeper into the mud to reduce its acoustic signature. The Toloka almost fails right here. As the submarine settles, a piece of torn netting snags one of the drone's thrusters. If the thruster is damaged, the mission is over. Then, a Raptor patrol boat roars directly overhead. Its weight creates turbulence that rolls the Toloka almost completely upside down. For 3 agonizing seconds, the drone tumbles through the dark water. The operator's hands are shaking on the joystick. The Toloka's onboard computer executes an emergency maneuver. On the pier, Russian sailors open fire with AK-74 rifles, shooting blindly into the water. The bullets punch through the surface and tumble harmlessly into the mud. The Toloka is already 30 yards away, closing on the target. A sonar operator inside the submarine suddenly shouts, "Contact astern! Close range!" The captain's face goes white. He knows what that means.
Last chance.
He orders the stern compartment sealed, but it is too late. The Toloka accelerates to 25 knots for the final sprint. It covers the 500-foot gap in just 18 seconds. The operator in Kyiv watches the target reticle close on the submarine's stern. His hand hovers over the trigger. Russian sensors briefly detect a thermal spike, but it is buried by the acoustic clutter. The contact vanishes into noise, and then the Toloka impacts. The shape-charged warhead detonates with surgical precision. It is aimed directly at the propeller shaft and the stern seals. The explosive does not try to punch through the thick steel pressure hull. Instead, it focuses all its energy on the external machinery. The copper liner of the charge collapses and forms a hypervelocity plasma jet. It travels at 35,000 feet per second, vaporizing the propeller blades. It warps the massive steel shaft and shreds the rubber seals. The shockwave travels through the water and amplifies against the hull. Inside, the crew feels the impact like a hammer blow. Light bulbs shatter and instruments fly off their mounts. A pipe bursts in the engineering compartment, spraying freezing seawater. The propeller shaft twists another 6 degrees out of alignment. The remaining seals disintegrate completely. Water pours into the stern compartment faster than the pumps can handle. The flooding rate triples in seconds. The stern drops another 6 feet, settling deeper into the mud. The submarine tilts to a 25-degree list, groaning against the seabed. The pier shudders, and a crane operator mistakes the vibration for an earthquake. The Kolpino is now grounded in 30 feet of water. Its stern is buried in mud, and its bow points skyward at an unnatural angle. It has not sunk completely, but it might as well have. The propulsion system is dead. The submarine cannot move, dive, or fight. It is a 4,000-ton monument to failure. The black hole has officially become the black mud hole. Satellite imagery from 3 days later shows the Kolpino is still stuck. The list has increased, and the oil slick around the hull has grown larger. Russia issues a standard denial, claiming routine maintenance. But their actions tell a different story. The remaining Kilo-class submarines in the Black Sea Fleet are immediately dispersed. Paranoia has reached maximum levels. A $450 million asset is now a total loss. It cannot be repaired locally because the dry dock is unavailable. Moving it would require a salvage operation so expensive and visible that Russia would rather pretend it is fine. Consequently, caliber cruise missile launches from submarines have dropped to nearly zero. Ukraine gains freedom of movement in the western Black Sea. This secures grain export corridors and improves logistics for the southern front. The entire naval balance has shifted because of one 8-foot drone. Russia thought locking the door meant safety. They thought paranoia was the same as security. Instead, they created the perfect acoustic smokescreen for the weapon they feared most. So here's my question for you. Do you think Russia can repair the Kolpino? Or will it sit in that harbor forever as a monument to overconfidence? Comment on your strategy if you were the Russian admiral in charge. Would you salvage it, scuttle it, or just keep denying reality? Hit that like button if you support the underdog rewriting the rules of naval warfare. Subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown. Ukraine has more surprises coming that Moscow definitely is not ready for. Bye for now.